A video analysis and exploration of sound design within the opening sequence of Gravity. Being set outside the Earth's atmosphere, it's no surprise that the movie Gravity, produced by Alfonso Cuarón in 2003, pushed the boundaries of dynamic sound design. The audio masterminds behind the movie technically broke the rules by creating sound within a vacuum, but it provides the audience with a stunning, out-of-this-world experience which pushes the boundaries of sound in film. The entire sound mix of Gravity is an immersive 360-degree sensory experience which enhances the audience's journey through space by pinpointing where the sounds are coming from around them. It combines with the unique camera work to create a fluid and believable outer space environment which thrusts the audience into a first-person viewpoint. Supervising sound editor and sound designer Glenn Fremantle was called upon during the making of Gravity in 2010, where he was tasked to construct a 45-minute pre-visualization sound design that was going to be screened to studio executives. He developed a 5.1 mix with Cuarón that conceptually opened the door to what was to come, a film in which the audience would hear through the ears of the characters as the action unfolds in the atmosphere around them. Fremantle states in an interview for The Verge, "It was at that point that we decided to do the sound design from the perspective of touch through vibration and contact in the whole film right from the beginning." This was from the article How the Sound Masters of Gravity Broke the Rules to Make Noise in a Vacuum, written by Brian Bishop in October 2013. So let's begin the deconstruction of sound within the opening sequence. The entire sequence is one continuous shot, as you can see by speeding through it. Therefore, the sound design must also be continuous and fluid with no cuts or breaks. The scene begins with facts of danger about space. It even states in visual writing there is nothing to carry sound, which is ironic as the sound designers have overlaid a creepy music score, which before long escalates into a loud, almost unbearable and distorted noise. Listen to this. As the title sequence ends and the location is revealed, the horrific, ear-piercing calamity of sounds is halted by 8 seconds of complete and utter silence. No distant noises, no ambience, no music, nothing. This 8 seconds appears to feel like an eternity. This was deployed to provide the audience with an instant feel for the location and the lack of life thereabouts, immediately placing them within the scene in a realistic, audible manner. The increasingly loud noise before was merely a device to cleverly emphasize this silence, switching from painful peaking sound bars to simply nothing, going from one extreme to another. As you can hear, the silence is broken softly as faint voices are heard in the distance. A radio effect has been applied to these voices in order to inform the audience that communication is being transmitted through radio waves. This effect can be applied in Pro Tools using the EQ3 7-band effect by increasing the gain and cutting off other frequencies to thin out the audio. Adding the high and low pass filters alone will provide a relatively satisfactory lo-fi sound, but increasing them to approximately 2 kHz will add a little more body to the audio. Here's a screenshot of where I have manipulated the variables within the EQ3 7-band to achieve a similar radio-like vocal effect. The radio voices are accompanied by a very quiet tonal sound which lingers underneath. This is almost like an artificial atmos, creating an eerie yet believable background noise to reflect the location and aid the breaking of silence. This lasts the duration of the opening sequence. The female voice is initially heard from the right while the male voice is heard from the left. This use of dynamic surround sound is yet another device used to engage the audience, placing them quite literally in the middle of a conversation with voices being heard from all directions. This conversation increases in volume and clarity as the spacecraft comes closer. This helps identify that is where it is taking place. As the astronauts themselves become visible, the relevant vocal audio appears to pan around with the character on screen with pinpoint accuracy as they move. It is as if we are there ourselves, hearing the live sound as it happens in front of us. If we were to close our eyes, we could point a finger at the screen and be able to tell exactly where they are. Here is a visual graphic of audio panning a stereo track within Pro Tools. We are able to physically direct the sound within a 360-degree audio space for both the left and right outputs. You can either manually alter the left and right separately, or highlight the global linking tool to cause each side to move in unison. The sound designers of Gravity have initiated the panning of multiple tracks within the opening scene to cause the different voices to be heard from the spoken character's respective on-screen location. It soon becomes clear there are external radio voices from people elsewhere as some voices are directed straight into our ears, one from the left and one from the right, while they are not visible in the picture. This creates the sensation of being in a spacesuit with a radio hooked up to each ear, hearing commands from either the ground team or fellow astronauts off screen, thus enhancing the immersive sense of being in the scene. The voices are underlaid with a calming country-themed music track, which is also coming through the radio, creating an ironic relaxation, resulting in a false sense of security for the audience in respect to the chaos which is about to unfold in the upcoming scenes. Through right-to-left panning, we can identify that the music is being heard by the character Matt Kowalski, played by George Clooney, as the audio follows him across the mise-en-scene. The circus of vocal surround sound combines with the coiling camera movement to enhance the sense of motion sickness many have reported to have experienced through watching the sequence. As the camera awkwardly zooms towards Ryan Stone, played by Sandra Bullock, her voice becomes the prominent one, and is heard from a central output as she is in the middle of the screen. As Stone fondles the controls, it becomes audible through quiet, low-pitched noises, representing the vibrations mentioned earlier by Fremantle. One would imagine these sounds were achieved through basic Foley, and then distorted and lowered in pitch and volume within the sound editing software. As she turns the handle, it almost sounds as if it is occurring underwater. So it would not surprise me if Fremantle partook in some underwater Foley recording, or used variables within sound editing software to achieve an underwater style effect. In conclusion, the sound design within the opening sequence of Gravity is extremely effective in conveying the atmosphere of the location. The break to silence after the ear-piercing noise at the start is a useful technique that has been applied to enhance the total lack of sound in the area, as sound cannot travel in a vacuum. This fact meant the sound designers had to convey sound through vibrations throughout the film, so its entirety was not in complete silence. The increase of volume within the dialogue as the spacecraft approaches allows the audience to identify where the voices are coming from. The complex and precise use of panning within surround sound is extremely accurate in telling us who is speaking, and enhances the immersive experience of feeling as if we are there in the scene. The sound designers have analysed every detail within the sequence and manipulated the audio accordingly, syncing the voices accurately and applying relevant and believable effects. Despite the sequence being perhaps limited in action, and a lack of requirement for much audio, a lot of thought has gone into achieving a realistic soundscape which reflects what we may actually hear if we were in space. And the clip proves that complete silence can be one of the most powerful tools within a sound designer's toolbox. Thanks for watching.